Good Lord.
Round
This
three.
is the
Fight.
third time we have done this because my microphone keeps jumping off of the Shure microphone into my ear pod.
Oh, sure.
Oh boy, there it is. That wasn't even planned. And we just did a 5-minute riff on Tim Gombas's sigh as he joined us via Riverside. Before we saw his face, there was just this deep sigh of like, exactly. Thank you for reenacting it, Tim. It was just this deep sigh of like, my goodness, these two dumbasses again. And
for me, deep sigh is a reset.
Yeah, it's fair. Tell us about your day. I mean, we were talking.
Never derision.
We were just talking about how swampy it is. What was your day like? Give us what time you woke up, and then like just increments the day thus far.
I don't know. I was up around 4-ish.
There it is.
A couple cups of coffee. I got rolling at about. So I read a little bit.
What'd you read? Can I ask what you're reading?
I'm right in the middle of a novel called Long Island Compromise, and it's a lot of fun. And then I have the great privilege of studying Acts with the Vox OC crew, so I did my reading. Nice. We're just reading with a narrative strategy, and then I went on a long walk. Got back and got into. I'm doing this project on 2 Peter and Jude, and so I just did a little bit of reading in 2 Peter and Jude, and my days. The anchors of my days are my meals.
Yeah.
So if I just get the slightest hunger pang, any kind of work I'm doing or anything else I'm doing is done. I'm done. Time for the next meal. So I made myself a massive salad and
nice. Are we getting you
post
post salad?
The Tony Kornheiser show.
Oh, my friend.
It's my daily routine. That's my routine. Every day, make a meal, listen to a podcast.
Introverts unite. Introverts unite. That is amazing. Yeah. Was there a specific thought structure to the walk this morning? Anything you were stewing on or ruminating about, or was it more just free flow?
Yeah, for sure. Thinking about a couple of different poems, and then chewing on a conversation I had last night with a friend.
Ooh.
And reflecting on a certain question, and wanted to sort of turn that over in my mind a little bit, and and then a couple of just mundane kind of questions about scheduling over the next couple of weeks and making sure I schedule visits with some friends, know how to prioritize things. Because I'm a people pleaser, I need to get, when I have opportunities for things, I need some distance to think about it, so I don't agree too quickly to something. And then,
like this,
oh no, this is a no-brainer. There's some things that are just a bit more complicated. So if I get some distance, that's helpful. It was a little bit of a morning of despondence because the All-Star break is always like a midsummer depression because I don't wake up to morning news of a baseball game. I know they played the All-Star game last night, but that doesn't matter.
Okay.
But you always check the standings, check the Cubbies, and then check the NL West because got some teams of friends that battling the evil empire.
I love
to do that this morning.
This just all makes me so happy. It just makes me so happy. One of the things that I don't know if people are surprised about anymore or not, but I'm an utter introvert. Like my wife, Justina, and son, Seth, were heading out to summer camp at our youth group, and they were going to stay 2 days. And I had plans for those days. And then she calls. So they left Monday morning and they were going to come back Tuesday night. She calls Monday night, and I knew the minute I saw the call what it was going to say. And I picked up, and she said, "Hey, we're going to just come home tonight." And I was so sad. And my wife, she knows this. So she's like, "You're really bummed, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Babe, I love you. I adore you. You're the greatest." And I'm so upset right now because I had plans. I had plans for those days. I had plans, Gombus. So when I hear, yeah, I know you do. I know you do. See, Stafford's a different kind of introvert because when he's around people, he doesn't like people. I like people when I'm around them. I'm just really happy by myself. Would you agree with that? Would you, Stafford? Would you? Am I overstating that? I'm just basing that on things
I
you've
love
said before.
everyone.
I read this, not that anyone cares, but just talking about introverts. Like I love being an introvert so much, and maybe that's part of it. But I saw this online, and Gombus, I'm just running it by you. Introverts don't get bored. Like never. They enjoy their company, just chilling around the house, doing random shit, browsing old photos, feeling 10 different emotions in 4 seconds, cringing about something they said 3 years ago, 2 hours of self-talk, eat, nap, but never bored. And I'm so in. Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we all in agreement that this is life?
Yeah. I love being by myself. I love being alone. And I don't really feel like I'm alone. I feel like I'm surrounded by all my friends here in my library. And
That's it. In the library was the disclaimer.
Well, it's the opposite of boredom because you're, at least in my experience, you're more trying to figure out, out of the things that I could think of doing right now, which of those things do I want to do? Yeah. I'm never like, what? I don't know what to do. I'm just like, I can't choose what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the projects on my morning walks is like prioritizing things because there's a lot. But I also I love when I'm with the people that I'm really close to, I don't ever get tired.
Yes.
Of talking. I mean, I never tire of it. I think what I tire of is like small talk and quipping, that sort of thing, or
quipping.
Yeah, just like
just drains.
I just don't.
There was a very famous episode of you hating small talk on walks back in our back
or the prospect of being around people where there's going to be small talk.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, so oftentimes, yeah. So anyway, yeah. I love being by myself, and I love connecting with the people that mean a lot to me. And that's, other than that, I'm like, yeah. There was a guy, I was at a coffee shop the other day, and just reading. It's at a coffee shop. And this guy, this older gentleman, just engaged me in conversation out of nowhere. He's 80 years old. His name's Ian.
Ian needs to pick up on social cues, bro.
And I just was like, I made a decision right there because I could tell he wanted to sort of disburden himself of like his story and wanted to connect. And I just thought, Ian, I am giving you the biggest gift in the world right now. And I just switched gears.
Yeah.
I switched gears and just started asking follow-up questions and showing interest and pulling at strands, and just thought, here's a guy that wants to talk, and I'm okay. I have a great life. I can give him what ended up being 30 minutes of just pulling, how was that? Oh, how did that happen? And like, that must have been really upsetting. And
how big a nap?
See how that would have been.
Did that require later just to recover from?
Yeah, I don't really get tired. Those don't tire me out. I don't get tired from. I don't get drained from. I don't necessarily get drained. I just hit a cutoff, and then it's like, I have very polite ways of just saying, okay, yeah, I'm done. Well, hey, thank you, Ian. Ian, thanks for sharing all that. I just know when it's like internally, I'm starting to see double.
I'm getting angry,
and
I'm always angry.
Ian, you're awesome, but this is done.
There is a lost art to eating meals, sitting in public places, going to movies by yourself, and I just don't see many people. I know. Yeah. I mean, the three of us. I'm just saying, like, my favorite thing is to go out to breakfast, bring my Kindle, and I just read or journal or whatever. And no one else. I'm the only one there doing that. And so Ian said, here's a guy that is probably as lonely as I am. And that's false. You were all, Gombus, you were in your happy spot, and you got yanked out of there.
I was loving it.
Yep.
I know. I was like following the rules of coffee shop, social, you're in a social place, but there's a boundary here.
Yeah.
I'm reading.
Yeah.
I'm reading.
So I'm trying to figure out how to put those boundaries up for being in those public spaces but the empathy radar dragging everybody else's emotions from the room in. So it's like you guys are invading without even invading.
No, that's true. See, yeah, we don't have that.
So now I'll read here in my dungeon.
Do you ever put headphones? You ever put AirPods in that don't have anything in them? Like
all the time.
Music? Yeah, see, I think that's a Stafford. Oh, wow. I think that's a Stafford maneuver. He just walks around with him in his house.
I do that in my own house.
Yes,
that is awesome. It's
what?
Like
no,
like a big,
yeah,
like one of those face placards of like Dikembe Mutombo.
Yes, exactly. Yes. No. See, if you wore the headphones you're wearing now around Gombis, you would be.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Ian would have picked up on that. And they don't have to have anything in them. They can just be there as a socially, targeted way of saying, nope, not today, Satan. Yeah. Not at all. I don't want to hear your voice. So my poor wife, she drove home, and it's a 3-hour drive, and she was great taking our son. And she just came home to a husband that was like, I had a whole other day planned by myself. And so anyway, doesn't make for. All right. Speaking of introverts, we got a comment, a question that I believe both Tims have seen from another Tim on our Facebook page. And I thought, wow, this is a chewy one. And so I wanted to, so many Tims, bro, so little time. I wanted to read this, and then I thought it would be great fodder. So what audience, for what, the dozens of you that watch on our YouTube page, what you're going to see is Gombis going to look away, and then you're going to see the thought spooling up. So there'll be a pause. He'll look up often, and there'll just be maybe a 10-second period of silence where he's spooling up. And then
you don't edit that out so that I appear like quick-witted?
No, we've given up. There are too many gaps. We can't do it. Unfortunately, we're ourselves, and that's for good or bad. And we have dozens of listeners.
Unfortunately, I'm me.
Yes. Can't help it. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to read this question all the way through. We're going to watch Tim look up and to the left or the right, and then he'll spool up. And it is spooling up. It's like getting like one of those air raid sirens. You just have to, you start, and you have to get, quicker and quicker as you're pulling the crank. I don't know if this is going to translate on a totally audible medium. Are you still podcasting, Gombis? Are podcasts coming out?
Yeah, I had intended. I just need to get back get the momentum going again.
Okay, like the air raid siren. That's perfect.
The last couple of weeks, I was like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna do it, and then I was like, I just don't feel like it.
See, that's where Ian. Yeah. See, that's
Ian derailed me. He threw off my mojo.
He took it off. He's like, I've used my words. I've used my 500 words today. All right, so this is from another Tim on a Facebook group. Let me start with, quote, I struggle with the breaking bread principle. If speaking in tongues is a sign for, quote, unbelievers, then how is breaking bread with people who callously condone suffering in others not, at the very least, a bad optic? I mean the very least. How do the, quote, unbelieving equate that as love for one another? How do the unbelieving equate that breaking bread as love for one another and not pure and selfish hypocrisy? That's fine for when my brother offends me, but when the religious offend the poor and thereby the Father, Jesus tossed the tables. It seems to me the, quote, if your brother sues you for your jacket, give him your shirt, unquote, is not remotely the same as, quote, if your brother champions the suppression of the poor, the needy, the helpless, the homeless, the outcast, the widow, the prisoner, the immigrant, the homeless, unquote, go together. Man, I'm totally butchering this thing. Let me try again. It seems to me that the if your brother sues you for your jacket, give him your shirt, quote, is not remotely the same as if your brother champions the suppression of the poor, needy, helpless, hopeless, outcast, widow, prisoner, immigrant, homeless, go have a couple of beers with him and celebrate the resurrection together. You see what he's saying there? That makes sense. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I think so. I mean, it needs to be sharpened, but
yeah, but I want to make sure the force of what he's saying is the hey, love your enemies crowd and that quote isn't quite the same as, hey, if your brother really champions all of this horrible stuff and treating people other poorly, then we should just go out and have a beer and celebrate the resurrection together. Their salvation is none of my business, but, quote, what place hath righteousness with unrighteousness? Can we not rightly judge that doing the exact opposite of what Jesus commanded is unacceptable and not just a difference of opinion? Lives are ruined and families are wrecked. There has to be limits. I love my Christian family. I love my blood family. I hate this whole effing thing, and I never know what to do. Do I need to go back and reread any of that to make it make sense because I read it poorly? Or do we get the gist?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get what he's saying. Yeah, if we sharpen the questions a little bit,
He's looking up to the right.
How do you think we could sharpen the questions to make them helpful? Like, I get his sentiment.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But what do you think are the questions?
What are the limits?
Asked?
Yeah. Oh, great. What are the limits of biblical hospitality? At what point do we call Christians who support current administration policies non-Christians and break fellowship with them? If we're to care so much about what unbelievers think that we translate tongues, then shouldn't we care about what unbelievers think when we welcome people who have voted or support current policies into our fellowships with love and hospitality? Isn't that a sign to unbelievers of our own hypocrisy? And then here's Jesus on the side of the poor, the orphan, and the widow, and we just want to go drink beers and celebrate the resurrection with those people, and that seems a lot different than actively loving my enemies. Like, what are the limits of my tolerance and love of my brother or sister who is supporting what's happening in the world? Does that? Yeah,
I think that sharpens it a little bit. Well, I mean, just because it's hard to, how do you address a more, I mean, I understand what he's saying. I appreciate it. I'm glad that he said that. I'm just saying when there's like a scattershot sentiment, it's like, well, yeah, I get it. All I can say is, yeah, I hate this whole effing thing too. I'm with you. Period. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, for my part, part of what's, part of what I struggle with, like, how should we kind of questions, because it's like, who's the we? And then I always shy away from should questions just because I'm not a papal figure. No, I mean, I'm not an ecclesiastical figure. Nobody has.
You have an ecclesiastical figure, but you're not one.
Yeah, but I'm not one. I don't rule out like who's in, who's out, that kind of stuff. Or I don't know how to tell people what to do. All I can say is, like, the way that I have thought about it is, I mean, and thought hard. Steve and I were talking about this the other day about both of us, because he did a lot of his doctoral work in the history of evangelicalism in America. I mean, just having read on this topic for the last 30 years, just to try to understand where I come from and how my culture was shaped. From my humble perspective, I just can't sort of evangelicalism as a cultural phenomenon that is expressed in churches, institutions, and that sort of thing. From my perspective, and this is just my provisional perspective, I don't see any connection between what I see in the New Testament and those entities. I don't see any connection.
So can you say more?
All it is what I see in those places is, consumer driven, people pleasing entertainment, and with Jesus sprinkled on top, or Jesus talk. But there's just not what we see in the New Testament, which is, communities gathering together over meals, and communities as communities, purposely cultivating community life to welcome the culture's marginalized, outcast, overlooked, forgotten, left behind, excluded, to signal to them that we are them and they belong among us, and that we're welcoming Jesus as we're welcoming them. And the forces that shaped evangelicalism, white evangelicalism, over the last 150 years or so have been white supremacist and patriarchal, and have resulted in communities that are just detached almost entirely from what the New Testament is all about. I mean, just as one small example, if you look at what Paul talks about in Galatians 1 and 2, that these two wings of the New Testament church that were really just struggled to get along. The whole story of Acts is like the story of these two wings to get along: the Jewish Christian wing and the non-Jewish Christian wing. Yeah. And Peter and Paul met a handful of times to kind of just to solidify as much as possible those relationships. Yep. And Paul says the one thing that they agreed on, like, oh yeah, we're in agreement on that 100%, was care for the poor.
Totally.
Like that's like it's like, okay, the two major apostles of the New Testament church say, well, we know what priority number one is. It's care for the poor. Oh yeah, that's a non-negotiable. All right, let's go through 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And it's like, I was thinking about, this is a whole different topic, but I was thinking about a major figure that had a prominent place in my life some decades ago that recently passed. And when I was at his megachurch back in the 90s, it was like, if a poor person ever came in, I was like, oh yeah, we have some cans of stuff to give them. I was an intern at his church. We have some cans, we have some food that we can give him, but first you got to sit down, you got to talk through it, you got to give him the gospel, you got to do all this stuff before you ever give anything to a poor person or a hungry person. And so and that's, yeah, and I know that there are efforts here and there, but I'm just saying, by and large, what I see in the culture of evangelicalism and its expressions and institutions is just the opposite. It's not that priorities are sort of off. It's the opposite. I mean, for example, when Jesus says basically, like, look, heaven and hell ride on this, Matthew 25, welcoming foreigners, visiting the incarcerated, clothing the naked. I mean, I'm basically the sheep and the goats. Heaven and hell ride on these things. And then, according to Robert Jones's book, White Too Long, the demographic in America that has the most anti-immigrant sentiment is white conservative Christians, evangelical and Catholic. So it's like evangelicalism as a culture and its cultural expressions is oriented in the opposite direction of the teachings of Jesus. I mean, so it's like, how do you reckon with that? And then, I mean, and it goes deeper than that. I was thinking about, there are, I mean, Mike, you may have had some kind of touch points with this in seminary. Remember, like, the big thing going on in the 80s and 90s was like debates between dispensationalism and covenantalism.
Oh my Lord, yes.
And it's like, so, I mean, who gives a rat's patoot about it now? But it's like, back in the day, like, this was everything. And you know what's so interesting is that evangelical theologians in their little ghetto that nobody really knew about were debating, like, which of these two systems. What's interesting to me about those two systems is they both have at their heart ruling out the teachings of Jesus as, like, normative for today.
That's true.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So, like, evangelicals recognize, it's like there's a recognition, well, the one thing we're not doing is what Jesus says. Yeah. And, like, we really love Paul because he doesn't talk about doing anything. He just talks about having Jesus in your heart. So we're all about that.
Yeah. So
you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
oh yeah. So dispensationals will say the Sermon on the Mount's for the millennium, for the future. Covenantalists will say the Sermon on the Mount is to remind us we need Jesus and our sin.
Yeah, it's like law, and we can't have law. We need gospel, and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's a hackneyed version of it.
Yeah,
and there it's more nuanced than that, really. But it's like, that's the payoff, is like, the Gospels are a mystery to us because they call us to do stuff, so we're not doing any of that.
Yeah, we don't want to be saved by works.
Which protects this culture. Well, it's sort of it protects this culture from ever hearing the commands of Jesus, which have everything to do with justice doing, care for the poor, and inclusion, and forming radically inclusive communities. So it's like, no wonder evangelical churches have been so exclusive and white and suburban and comfortable because it's a consumeristic reality. So anyway, all that to say, I, having the dawning awareness of this over the last 20 years or so for myself, I've just been recognizing that forging a life that is attempting to be more and more and more oriented by the New Testament is just going to put me at odds with my evangelical culture. And I'm detached from it now, which I'm so happy about. And, I love my family. I'm going to go see my folks next week and have to drive through the horrible state of Indiana. They're horrible drivers, but up in Chicago. But I will see my family.
Some Led Zeppelin on the overpasses, or
oh, could you believe that? Oh my word, that was awesome. But as far as like spending time in evangelical spaces, or I can't do it because I understand the sentiments. So I have a very difficult time engaging in any kind of Christian practice with folks that are wrapped up in a culture. And I try to take a compassionate view of them. They are wrapped up in a culture where their sentiments have been manipulated in ways that are distorted away from Jesus. And, because I don't want to judge motives of individuals. But for myself, I can't go in those spaces, or I can't, do sort of Christian practices and signal that it's okay, like that we're all good, because I don't think so. And like I said, I'm not an ecclesiastical authority that can say, well, you're cut off from Christ. But just from my small little perch here, as I look at the New Testament, I'm in a process of wrestling with my comforts and trying to like have more and more touch points with refugees and folks on the margins, and more and more touch points with those trapped in poverty in its various forms, and rubbing shoulders with folks that are sort of gleeful about the cruel treatment of people in positions of weakness, and I am fully available for anybody for everybody in LGBTQIA plus communities who are grappling with how to make ways forward in life. Like, I'm a very willing ally, partner, conversation partner, in all of that. And so to see folks celebrate the cruel treatment of LGBTQIA folks who are already marginalized in culture and who have already suffered so many cruelties from family, so folks in those kinds of communities that claim the label Christian, I just don't know what to do other than to say I don't want any part of that for myself. I really don't. I don't want any part of it. I've got one or two lifelong friends that that complicates things, but I would never step inside any of their churches or any of that. I want to stay in contact, and when I connect with my very close lifelong friends, talk about a lot of other stuff, family, bourbon, baseball, that kind of stuff, whatever else comes up other than politics. Although if you want to engage, I've got one friend who's read deeply and widely, so I feel like we can have richer conversations. But yeah, I get it. I sense it. And I just feel like for myself, the question is, I don't have that question anymore. I've already cast my lot. I'm cut off, and I'm, it's, even though it's complicated, my life in certain ways, I embrace those complications fully. Like, I lost a full-time job, and now I'm patching together various income streams. But it's like I've never felt so free and liberated and joyful and delighted in being able to be fully and consistently and faithfully Christian. Whereas in evangelical spaces, in the healthiest, and I was in a very healthy one for a time, in the healthiest evangelical spaces, you can be a lot of Christian. But because evangelical spaces are ultimately capitalistic, pleasing to the consumer, don't want to ruffle feathers of wealthy donors, that kind of stuff, make sure white people are comfortable, make sure people are entertained, and make sure there's, good juju so that givers don't get discouraged. It's at the bottom line is all about money. I just feel so liberated from all of those realities, and I feel free to be Christian finally, in its most consistent expression, which is a pursuit of increasing faithfulness. It's not like the arrival, but.
So when it comes to this guy's question, the breaking bread principle, you're out. You're just
I wouldn't
out.
do it. I do not do it. I do not. I mean, it's like, okay, if I like I said, I have a friend I might see for a weekend coming up in August. To me, that's different. But as far as entering an evangelical space, and to break bread, literally to have meals in the first century, just like today, signals identity, like you are who you eat with. And I would just never go into one of those spaces because I'm not that. I'm not that. I'm not a part of this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so conflicting for me because I'm in a space where there are some who are and some who aren't, and some who are just very much in process. And it's like, I didn't arrive where I'm at because people cut off from me. I arrived where I'm at because people kept staying connected and showed me the broader horizon. You know what I mean? And I know what you'll say is, yeah, I'm not a pastor and I'm not an ecclesial authority. Yes. But I'm also like, I'm hearing this question, and I'm doing the very thing you're resisting. I'm breaking bread with people who would look at the current state of the world and say, yeah, I think this is good. And so is that condoning their sin? And I'm not asking you specifically. I mean, because I would never do that. But I'm just reacting to what you're saying, yeah, I'm really tempted towards that too.
Yeah, I get it. I think everybody's got to navigate this from their situation. And I totally can understand when I was in one of those spaces, I thought in terms of process, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to push. I'm going to help people. Yeah. And I know that I help I helped. And you still do. Yeah. Broaden their horizon. That's fine. But I also, I knew that there would come a time where I would be cut off. I'm just thinking every person in various locations has to decide this and think through it. And I don't think there's one way. I don't think there's one way fully to go. I think people that are in churches that are members and that don't have responsibilities and that kind of thing, and that feel that they're just going to get chewed up and not listened to. Like I think about this. Like I think about the woman that is called to ministry and wants to teach and lead, and in one of those kind of evangelical spaces where they hear, just hang in there, not quite yet. Well, just be patient with us. My advice is get out. They will never change. You will have that conversation in 15 years. And the person will be saying, hang in there. We got this. Because what that means is, there are two wealthy donors to our church who do not want women in ministry. And we need to, it's like, we got to keep them happy no matter no matter our scriptural convictions. And so it's like people that are in places of vulnerability, and you're hoping that the church will change, get out. Or people of color that have have trouble with, like, why are my brothers and sisters in Christ not grieving the latest spectacular national slaughter of a black person? Like, what's the deal? When are they going to change? I talked to my pastor about it. They said, yeah, be patient with us. I would say, get out, leave. That place will never change. But I mean, it's different. I can see it's different if you're like in a place where you have, influence and you can maybe move things along I don't know. I get that.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, I don't know exactly. And I'm not, there's no one size fits all move to make, but for myself, that's just what I did.
Yeah. So for this person, it's like Yeah, I don't break bread with people like that.
I get
Totally.
it. Yeah,
Totally.
I get it, because it's like you've got, at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself, and it's like, what level of moral disgust can you handle, and then also, what level of not only just general moral disgust, but like, one of the things that always troubled me was how evangelical institutions treat LGBTQIA folks, and it's just like it's like, um, you know, it's. I just had a really good friend one time that just said, uh, because these debates in our faculty meetings were ultimately about her kid, and she just said, "My kid's not up for discussion anymore. The dignity, the humanity of my kid is not up for debate, and I'm not going to wait around for you to come down on the right side. I'm out." So I was like, "Got it." And so, I mean, that's just helpful. It's a helpful frame. And it's like, if we're not seeing the full humanity of other people, we're giving up the claim to represent what we see in Scripture. So anyway,
the end.
Yeah,
but it's a tough thing. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing in this culture, because there are a lot of folks. There are a lot of folks who would be. I don't know what even the labels are, because I don't want to misuse these. I think these labels are misused, but there are folks that indulge their lust for cruelty and cheer at the policies of the current administration. Totally. I don't want to say that that's conservative, because it's not. It's these labels are just out the window anymore. But there are folks that that just give into that and cheer as people are mistreated. I want to see that a lot of these folks have not really sat down and thought through the sources of their feeling, of their, because in modernity, because it's so vast and varied and scary and confusing, there's a craving in the heart of many people for clarity, black and white, hard lines,
100%,
male, female, makes perfect sense. Just give me clarity, give me answers, give me a clearly identified enemy. Yeah. I got the nightly news to get to know the enemy, as theologian Professor Paul Hewson says. And so it's like, I get that there are a lot of people that have not lifted up the hood on why they have that craving for cruelty and for a strong man just to come in and just blast away and just end it, or like give in to that, violence. And so I want to have a lot of generosity toward other people and individuals, because I think a lot of us here in the States and around the world are just manipulated by images and by the complexity of everything. And I want to have a lot of generosity and charity toward folks. And so anymore, rather than like, I don't adopt a posture of like judging the folks that I don't want to, like, I'm passing judgment really on the spaces, but not the people. And I also want to own my part and sort of take in like an Isaiah oriented posture and just like admit my complicity in it. I mean, I'm a participant, and just say I dwell among a people of violence. I'm a man of violence, and just, Lord, have mercy.
Because there's clarity. There's clarity on the other side too. I mean, what you're saying is clear, and there's a defined enemy. Even though we want to judge the ism and not the people formed by the ism, and so I can see where that has appeal either direction. You know what I mean?
I'm very intrigued by I went on a hike with my wife yesterday. We were talking about some of this kind of stuff, and I was telling her that I use the classroom as a place to practice, like lifting the hood on some of those conversations, because the age group that I have, and then the spiritual demographic that I have, often will be, we already have it all figured out. My dad told me what all the guardrails are, or what the truth is and whatever. But being able to pull on those threads and be like, that's such an interesting take. Can you go a little bit further with that? And watching them slowly grapple with, this is not all students, but many students slowly kind of grapple with, well, I guess I don't really have an understanding of where this particular piece comes from or whatever. I've found that has given me, it'll give me more grace outside of the classroom. So I literally use my time teaching as like a tutorial for myself on how can I ask the questions. I've been trying to do this in modeling because Gombis, you were on here, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I said something about trying to love my enemy, and you're like, I hate to break it to you, but that's your neighbor, not your enemy. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, and what does that act like? Because I think, we take everything so two-dimensionally. So loving your neighbor is often just like, well, hopefully they have some food, or I'll say hi to them in the morning and be gracious. But sometimes I think having some of these conversations can also be very rooted in there, like loving my neighbor also, affects me in the way that my heart is postured towards them in the conversation. And then asking some of those questions, some of those like, oh, that's a really interesting take. How did you come to that? What did you read? Where did you go? And just like kind of pursuing. I like that metaphor, like making them pop the hood and being like, okay, well, let's see what's going on underneath here. But it's been very interesting.
I think that's great. I think it's huge. I've thought about this a lot when in anticipating spending time with family. I try to remind myself, ask questions, be curious, and try to draw people out. I feel like one of the payoffs of identifying sort of the enemy, not the enemy necessarily, but identifying how it is that there are these larger forces at work manipulating all of us, is that what it does to me is it puts me alongside everybody else. So I'm not like some kind of morally neutral person that can stand as an arbiter of who's good and who's bad. I'm with the rabble. Like I'm with everybody. I'm just going to be focused on, my quiet confession of I dwell among a people of violence. I'm a man of violence. Have mercy on us, Lord. Have mercy and don't judge. And it's sort of like confessing my complicity, but also putting my arms around all of the rest of America that's caught in this maelstrom of white hot anger over we don't even know what. And so, I find that that's a helpful thing for me. And then just in conversations to be curious and that sort of thing. And when I was in an evangelical classroom, that's where, you can sort of bring things to bear and sort of unpack, because you have like quarters and semesters. You don't just have a one podcast episode or one conversation or one sermon. You have a way of being able to unpack something and pull it apart and invite people into the process of critical reflection. And those can be beautiful opportunities. I think those are really exciting. Yeah, for sure.
Just the three of us, though, is an interesting answer to the guy's question, because it's like, Mike, you're in the middle of it still. Gombis, you've found a different community in which and I'm outside of all of it. Like I don't go to a church. I don't know that I ever will ever again go to a church of any denomination. I feel very uneasy in that. So it's like learning how to navigate or to build your posture based on this conversation is so different just for the three of us. Let alone just to speak to like the looking for the black and white, looking for just tell me how to respond to this one situation. It's like, well, I would have to talk to you for a few hours about all the semantics of your situation before we could even like figure out how to posture yourself in there. But it's just an interesting, everybody wants a prescription. I'm not saying that the person that wrote in, I understand that question very, very well. I wrestle with it daily on where you cut ties and where you don't cut ties, or what does loving your neighbor look like in a situation in which they're advocating and celebrating, as you said, the pain of the least of these. But it's like, I don't know. It seems to be one of the bigger questions of our current time period is how do I posture and exist in this?
Well, to me, it's only a question, and it's only a difficult struggle, like for good people.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? It's like like if you really have a heart of love, for a lot, it's still an agonizing thing for me, because like as I look back on my life, I've been loved by evangelical people, even as I am I have a moral revulsion at the structure that cultivates a sentiment among the people themselves. I've been loved and nurtured, and like I've been given a good life by evangelical people in so many ways. And then stepping outside of my training and my comfort zones and all of that, like developing, basically doing what evangelical people told me to do, which I realized they didn't believe it as much as they weren't as serious about it as I took it. I should have realized it was a game.
Well, they're often rhetorical, even in the statement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just taking scripture very seriously. So like I would read a passage like Colossians 2, put on a heart of compassion. So like, and okay, break it down in the Greek and get to the splanchna, the guts, where you feel stuff. And like, I'm seriously taking this on walks with me, and like cultivate a heart of compassion. So like cultivate feeling in your gut the way other people feel based on their experiences that you will never feel. Like I resonate with like some 50-year-old white guy that loses his job. I have just immediate compassion because I understand what that's like. But like, I don't know what it's like to be a black woman. I don't know what it's like to be a person not fully abled. I don't know what it's like to be just a white woman in this culture, or a black man, or a person who's Asian or just non-white. I don't know. But so it's like, it's my responsibility. It's my joy to actually step into life and follow that command, which will bring me life, to really visit what is life like for other people, and to feel it. And so taking seriously what evangelicals told me to do led me to be woke and like learn about other stations of life, and really feel and to develop the comfort of being a student of life from other perspectives.
How do you think you personally differentiated between what you just said with responsibility and joy?
Oh, I'll get back to that one second. So, but all I'm saying is, as a person, I think as a good person, like I love my people from my heritage, but I also have developed a love for so many other people in this world. And so to see the people where I come from develop a lust for cruelty towards all these other people it's shattering to me. And I think for people that aren't interested in goodness, it's like, or people, I don't know how people can do this, just to cut a community off. I can do that to an institution, but I can't do that with like community members necessarily, or people that I'm attached to. The way I differentiate that is like I try to take very seriously Jesus's words when he says, my burden is light. Take my yoke upon you, for my burden is light. And when John says in 1 John, his commands are not burdensome. And so trying to reconfigure my imagination, which used to be like this, to walk in the ways of like, just unbroken chains of sin or whatever. That's freedom, and that's goodness. And then to sort of go the way of Jesus is the hard way. I mean, that's kind of how dispensationalists would want to see things. But what Jesus says is hard, we're not doing it. That's for the kingdom age. So what I prefer to say is like the commands of Scripture outline the way of liberty, of life, of goodness, of freedom, of blessing, of empowerment, of privilege. And so it's like to actually, it's not my responsibility. I mean, it is, but it's like responsibility entails like drudgery or heaviness. I'd rather say it's my privilege to walk in these ways, because that's where life is. Life is seeing the full humanity of other people. Life is on Monday giving Ian a half hour of my time and just learning about his story and his adopted son, which was actually, anyway. So it's like, that's life, is to connect with other humans in different places. Whereas my culture tells me no, those other people that are unlike us, they're a threat, they're the enemy or whatever. And I could see that as, well, it's my responsibility to get to know those people. But then it's like that, I see that as heaviness, and that robs other people of their human dignity. Like, it's my responsibility to get to know you. If someone told me that, I'd be like, well, F you. I'll get out of, like, I'm not a charity case.
Yeah.
And so the people that are in social stations that are other than mine, I'm not getting to know them as a charity case. I'm getting to know them as it's my privilege. Like, wow, I'm going to put myself in a place where I learn things, or I'm blessed by someone else's story. So I guess that's,
well, I think
the semantic
that
difference is actually
substantial.
Yeah.
I think I kind of feel like that's at the heart of this whole thing, is the difference. Because like, Mike, how many times have we talked about like the condemning people's sin or condemning whatever that is good because it's an act of love, like it's hard love, right? So we kind of grew up in that culture that would say like,
oh yeah,
what
Loving
is happening
people is
now?
telling them, yeah,
exactly. So like some of the cruelty that we see right now, you'll see people go, no, this is me loving them, this is me being good. Yeah. So that heart posture shift between what responsibility to joy, to me, kind of feels like it might be at the core of this whole conversation, because it's just a radically different posture. If you're doing something begrudgingly, but doing it because you think it's the, whatever, but versus like, it's kind of like the toxic empathy conversation or all that kind of stuff of like condemning, understanding other people's place in life or whatever, and having compassion for them and that kind of stuff, versus just being like, well, I've got bootstraps too, and I pulled myself up by them, and that was good. I did a good thing when I did that. What's Pearl Jam? Born on third thinks he got a triple.
Yeah. Like, seriously, read history. Yeah. It's interesting there's another dimension to what you're saying, Tim, I think. And that is that, I was thinking about that because I would have students say stuff like that to me in class, loving others is telling them hard truths or whatever. And it was like, first of all, who picked out that shirt, you slob? I mean, I'm loving you. No, I feel like I want to say, well, what's interesting to me is all the examples of love, when there are concrete examples in the New Testament, like James talks about this, John, they're all things that are like the person that's being loved would say, you just loved me. Mm. Do you know what I mean? Like if someone is hungry and you say, well, I love you, but I'm just going to tell you that you're a sinner. No, love means giving the person something to eat. Love means clothing the naked. So, I mean, that there's a perverse logic that is alien to the New Testament that's at work in sort of saying we want to be liberated to treat people badly and call that love. We want to sort of, which I understand. I think it's part of that culture that has all this buried resentment and rage and anger. And it's sort of like it's itching to get out, and it feels godly to let it fly, to let all that rage out in anger and denunciation, and just give it like a perverse Christian label, whereas it's not loving at all. But
how much do you guys think that this current conversation is this is dark and we can cut this out, but I was just reading a bunch on refreshing myself on how the church, like the church's relationship to the Native American community in, the 1800s, and just the darkness that was in there that was labeled as advancing the gospel, down to murder or to breeding people out or to whatever, like that kind of hostility. We're only like a generation and a half removed from actual hostile takes on how to love people, quote unquote. So now, obviously, if a church was trying to roll through and murder a bunch of people, I think people would say, whoa, that's not okay. But as we learn about, like, trauma being handed down genetically, I wonder how much of that posture is rooted in actual violence that was baptized and now becomes a different version of it. Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an answer to that, but I was thinking about that and watching something and reading up on more of that and just being like, man, this is, we have to hold some of that, even us, on our shoulders somewhere in us from our own ancestors. And I just wonder how much that hostility is just baked into our blood.
Well, I think it's that. I think it's also the gospel. Heaven and hell are on the line, man. So of course, would a cancer patient, would you love a cancer patient by telling them they're fine? You know, I mean, no, the truth. So when you frame it that way, when salvation just is heaven and hell and sin, then of course you can justify all manner. I want to go back to, I think one of the things I want to push back on my two very wonderful cynical friends right now on is, I think there is an obligation. So yes, if you are a part of an institution, leave. I think there are some of us who are in the process of forming institutions or trying to create institutions. And Gomez, you said something, I don't know when it was, but I've chewed on it and it's kind of morphed in my understanding about, I feel like my job is to preach the gospel Jesus preached. And people will self-select if they're really hearing what you're saying. In other words, if you preach the table, if it's Jesus's table, and you're prioritizing who Jesus prioritized, and you're teaching what Jesus taught, then there's a degree to which people whose hearts are hardened against those people will just not see that as a place where they're going to fit. And I think that's one of the things I've held on to, and I think it's true. I don't know that it's all the way true, but it's some true. That we've just had people say, yeah, this church doesn't have my values. And you're like, it probably doesn't. That's exactly right. And so I think there's a responsibility, at least that I feel in this, to preach Jesus well in the way that Jesus himself. If you're offending the people that Jesus offended and welcoming the people Jesus welcomed, it feels like you're on pretty safe ground. But I just want to leave room. I'd still want to leave room for people who don't know, who have just grown up in the system the way we did, and who have not yet had that moment or that relationship or that conversation like you had that just exposed them to the brand new world. So I'm willing to break bread with people who are still very much in that process. But I want to make sure that I'm preaching the table in a way that if you can't affirm who Jesus is prioritizing, then you wouldn't want to begin with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sure.
Really? Sure?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, for other people in other churches that don't have that shaping position, like that don't have, that are just in a church and might have a conversation with a pastor and say, hey, how come you keep talking about this? Or how, I just wouldn't wait. I wouldn't wait.
Got it.
For a church to change. But if I had some kind of
that's true
place of influence,
which you do,
I would just, if I had some kind of place of influence on it, like at some kind of an institution, I would just want to, do what you're saying, just representing rightly what you're seeing in Scripture and let the chips fall where they may. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I felt like at a certain point for me. I just thought, I want to be able to sleep at night.
Yes.
And then I wanted to be an institutional actor, like, so as a faculty member of the seminary where I was.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an institutional actor so that when my Black female colleague came to me and, we met in the office and she said, hey, here's what I'm seeing. This has to be addressed. This is unjust, etc.
Totally.
I had to be able to look her in the face 2 or 3 days later after talking with a dean or someone and put myself on the line. And so, and I knew, and I committed to that.
Yeah.
I committed to that. And that's what I was going to do. And I knew that could be the end. That could really, and it turned out that way. And I would do it 1,000 times out of 1,000 again.
For sure.
But so, if I was in that kind of position, I would just want to know, I would just count the costs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can have that I think it's a privilege to have that kind of voice, in an institution. I think that's great.
But I think the line you said there that I really resonate is put yourself on the line, because there is I have, there are 3 really good ways to grow a church these days. One is to not talk about any of this and just keep Jesus as your therapeutic self-help, guru who wants to optimize your life. One is to take the conservative position all the way on everything and just turn into a culture war, sort of church. And then there's another way to just be so fuzzy that you don't really stand for anything except just niceness. There's no edge to anything you're saying. I'm just perpetually, and you're right, it is a privileged position, wrestling with how do you have zealots and tax collectors at a table? Because I just see that as the dream. But so I don't know. I'm wrestling, because on the one hand, I resonate with everything you both are saying, that if I were not an institutional leader, the number of institutions I would feel comfortable in would be very, very tiny. For all the reasons you're saying, the list of non-negotiables is long and getting longer, but I find myself in this role that's on not only podcasting, but pastoring, where I have to, I don't know, I just have to have an extra lens on it. And I'm wrestling with where the lines are. Because in one sense, it would be really easy just to sort of write it off in either direction.
Yeah.
So I just,
well, to me, every person in every position, and these are all, we don't have many good models for this, but for what to do. And it just seems to me that there's a lot of, every person in every position has to sort of like make their own way forward in that. So, I get it, I get it.
Yeah, I know. So to the original questioner, well done. We validate the heck out of that question. And
yeah, I think it's great. I mean, the sentiment, I totally get it. And you got to find your way forward and hold on to your humanity and your sense of humor is all I can say. Wherever you are in the process.
Yeah. But
be kind.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot of power in the recognition and validation that, man, there's so many of us feeling like these spiritual refugees right now, where it's like, there is no place that feels like home. Not even, there's nothing. One of the things that you did an episode early on, and I hate complimenting you, you get way too much of it, totally full of yourself, but, you did a riff on, I know, I'm totally, you did a riff on love the evangelical, hate the evangelicalism.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you remember that season 1, bro, when you were fresh, dewy-eyed, and you thought, I'm going to do this every week. It's going to be great. But that's always been a distinction that's been helpful for me, to be rightly critical of the formative and shaping factors of the culture, and then compassionate towards the people who have been captivated by the isms.
Yeah, exactly. Captured.
Yeah. Yep. All right, friends. Last question. One piece of pop culture that you would recommend as a brain break for our audience. Yep. looking off.
I
Well,
spent
this
hours
week
last
for
night
me-
watching
Go ahead, Tim.
Glastonbury sets because Glastonbury just
really?
ended. So I just watched a ton of live
No
music last
controversy
night.
there. No controversy.
Well, I didn't watch
there.
those ones. I did read all that.
Oh.
They're not posting those.
Oh, got
I
it.
would watch them, but they were not posting them. But yeah, I mean, it was like Olivia Rodrigo, who my daughter loves, and so I've heard every note of every song she's written. She brought Robert Smith out on stage and did 2 Cure songs, and it was lovely.
Really?
and like a real like pulling very disparate generations together,
cool.
and just one of my favorite bands of all time. So
Yeah.
you don't have to think much. You can just sit there and watch and enjoy and feel your heart
Nice.
filled with tens of thousands of people celebrating music and art together.
Oh, that's
Love
so
that.
cool.
What about you?
That's not where Oasis got back together, is it?
No, they're on like a stadium tour.
Oh, are they? I just saw that. I was like, it's a tragedy, man. There's a lot of lost years.
If those two can love each other, then all of us can.
Give Peas a chance. The Black Eyed Peas. Okay,
Yeah.
Gumbus, what do you got?
I'm spending tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, watching a ton of the Open Championship. I watched a ton of Wimbledon this last week.
Nice.
Steve and I hung out watching Wimbledon on Sunday, and we're going to get together and watch some of the Open. So that'll be good.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then the Iowa Cubs are in town all next week, 2 blocks away from me. So I'm going to be.
Is that a
heading down
circus?
to watch
Is
the
that
Iowa Cubs.
What is that?
Dancing Bears.
Is that a
AAA
AAA
team for
baseball?
the-
Okay.
National League Central leading Chicago Cubs.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
Okay.
It's true.
Okay. Well, there we go. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with, I started a book on the recommendation of a friend called The River of Doubt about Theodore Roosevelt's very difficult pilgrimage to the Amazon. And it's been a very fun, what's the subtitle? Yeah, Theodore Roosevelt's Darkest Journey. And that's been
interesting.
totally riveting. Yeah. Just started 10% in, according to my Kindle. Also, Destiny 2. Destiny 2 just came out with a brand new expansion. So there may have been some time yesterday playing Destiny 2. That's a game, Tim. And great use of time. Great use of time.
That's cool.
And no, you're not at all impressed. And then thirdly,
Good for you.
I can't think of a third thing. So good for you, he says. That is the Tim Gombas equivalent of bless your heart. So that is, that is good for you. That was so
never got
insulting.
into
Bless your heart.
I
never
insulting.
really got past. I can't remember the name of that one video game. Oh, Tempest. And Miss Pac-Man. That was that was the.
If those are your two, then yeah,
of my video games.
Then
back
I
like
can
in
see why you
1984.
didn't.
I just kind of
you didn't get past that. It's all right.
Yeah,
it's all right. All right, friends. Thank you. This is always great, Gombas, as always.
Cheers.
Yeah, you're the best, Stafford. You're the best too.
Love hanging. Be well.
Thank you for listening to this conversation. The Voxology Podcast is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is made possible by listeners just like you. If you'd like to partner with us, you can do so at patreon.com/Voxology or on Tithely, tithe.ly, and just search Voxology Podcast. Links for both are in the show notes and on our website. You can interact with the hosts on Facebook /Voxology Podcast or on Instagram at Voxology Podcast and on Twitter or X, whatever it is, at Mike Erie. Thank you for walking this long road with us.